a sort of required effort. It's not like lucid dreaming, but you have to journal, so you have to really wake up and put something on paper to hold it solid in that moment where it starts to kind of ghost and disappear. And then you can, well, I presented it to Kim, we talked about it, and she says, it's wonderful thing of then just turning around. And it's like anything with acting, it's like you just look at the problem and you're able to examine it from different perspectives, like a camera in a scene. And whether it's, I don't know, climbing something, which was in one of my dreams, and then it was about looking at it from the point of view of, and there goes my water. And then, you know, looking at it from the point of view of the thing being climbed. It just never, then I'm looking at myself. And although there's a degree of invention with that, you're still working on something that you've perceived or understood from a singular perspective that then broadens out. And I found it amazingly helpful.
Is this to prepare to play Phil,
yeah,
or
this
as
was
you're playing Phil?
A bit of both.
Okay.
A bit of both. Definitely, when I was coming up to difficult moments or moments where I really thought, okay, I've just got to find a freedom here to just exist in front of Jane's incredible lens, Ari's incredible lens, their vision for how to frame him in their world. I've got to find a freedom that feels just, that feels emboldened by a sense of knowing somehow and letting go of that as well. So those moments in the sacred places we called the scenes by the river in particular, to connect with his past. And we did other much more sort of page 5 of the acting manual stuff of hot seating characters and, you know, going into who is Bronco Henry. I wrote love letters to him, he wrote love letters to me. I talked to Jane and Tanya one very long evening about that as Phil. As if confiding to someone I've never confided in before. So that was quite a challenge, obviously, as Phil, a huge challenge, but opening up in a way he could never do in his actual life.
I hate to like pull back the curtain a little, but who wrote the letters from Bronco Henry?
I did.
Oh, you wrote?
Yeah, I wrote both.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we also did circumlocutory. I don't know. We did stuff around the fringes of the main folk. We would walk around the National Portrait Gallery and talk, and there would be tiny fragments of a moustache or a profile or an eye colour or a brushstroke even, perversely, as if that can summarize or even evoke a memory that would just build something. And I said at one point, are we looking for something specific? Is this like an identikit of finding Bronco in particular, this ghost who is so real for Phil and a sort of mythical character for everybody else? And James was like, no, I don't think you need to see him as a singular picture. You don't need to find him in this moment, but just to talk about the essence of him and see that within many different faces and many different sort of eras as well. It was a fascinating way of doing things. And then in boot camp with her, as we called it, the first 2 weeks in Queenstown when we first arrived in New Zealand and we were acclimatizing to everything from, you know, jet lag to all being together as a cast for the first time. She really threw us some fascinating curveballs, like making me waltz with Jessie. So I'm holding my brother that I've known for 45 years, worked with alone for 25 of them, lived and breathed and slept in the same room as. You know, I would know his smell, I'd know what his heft felt like, I'd know what the texture of his skin and the warmth of his body was like. But how do you broach that with an actor that, you know, I so respect as really being one of the very greatest of my generation? I think he's extraordinary. He can ground a cardboard box. He just has such reality and such a depth of authenticity in every single choice. And he works hard, but just lets go as well. And, you know, to circumnavigate all that and find the person in this character when we were just getting to know each other and get on, you know, we had a great time working with each other. So to just get past all that to something that spoke of history, it's such a perverse thing to do, but it worked. It utterly worked.
Well, what about working with Kirsten Dunst? Because I know you're actors, but Phil is so hostile to Rose throughout this movie that, like, I wonder if you ever felt bad.
Oh God, you know, I mean, I'm very British, but I wouldn't just say I'm British. I'm also sort of beyond British, squirmingly kind of people-pleasing and apologetic. So I had to get over being this twisted pretzel of embarrassment and get into some place where I had full permission to do that on the day. And then, you know, at the weekends I'd be saying, I'm so sorry, are you okay? I'm so, you know. She'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's great. But weirdly, you know, she had to manifest so much of that for herself because it's a clink of a spur or it's my absence in a room. We have so little in that film where we actually are together. So she had to plumb her own depths and story and pain and bring something of her own experience of what that gaslighting felt like to really manifest it, because I couldn't. I wasn't holding a gun at head. I wasn't always even there in the room.
No, but when you are, it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Oh, I definitely, yeah, yeah. And then I just had to do it. And a huge help with that was Jane introducing me to the cast as Phil, as she said.
Right.
Not the cast, sorry, the crew, the whole production. We had this amazing Maori blessing underneath the hills on Grant's extraordinary set, which is just such a gift of time warpage and authenticity. You are there suddenly in Montana in 1925, and this sort of 360 degrees of nothingness, no human imprint, nothing 21st century that spoke to anything other than what we were trying to recreate. And in that moment, very sacred land as well, being blessed by the indigenous people. Jane then said, "I'll kind of introduce you to some of our crew. This is Kirsten, and this is Benedict. But this is actually Phil. You're going to be working with Phil. You'll meet Jane. No, you'll meet. Oh God, I'm doing a very bad Jane Campion. That's why I said Jane. You'll meet Benedict at the end of the shoot. He's really nice. Wow. This is Phil, and it just gave me full permission to be him from the beginning of the day to the end. So that really helped.
Yeah.
It really helps.
How much does it help? I mean, you can do all the preparation, you can do all your studying, then you show up on a set like this in those costumes.
It's awful. I mean, the first day is just terrifying. You just turn up and you go, I'm asking grown men and women who are at the height of their profession to pretend that I'm a character from Jane's script, and for them to buy that. You know, there's a voice much louder than anything to do with connecting with him, saying you can't do this. They know you're a fake. You're just you know. It was very difficult that first day, but the minute you've made some kind of footprint in the sand, however much it's washed away, you feel you've committed to something, and you can move on from that moment of insecurity to feeling, well, I've done a bit of it. I've been a bit of him for a while. I've breathed him. I've tried. And then that voice just gets quieter and quieter. And that's when it gets really interesting. Stuff takes over that you don't even know about or expect. That's very exciting.
Well, I know I've told you